Welcome to GTFO Girl, my video blog about moving abroad and GTFOing from the US. So I am in the Netherlands. I've been here just over a month now and am compiling all of the things that I've learned about moving abroad with a pet. So brace yourself, this is a long episode, but there's a lot of useful information. And please keep in mind that this is as of January 2026, so things may have changed since I created this, but this is just my personal experience with moving abroad with a pet. So to start off, when I sought out a vet for getting Neville certified, Neville's a cat, the APHIS website, which I will include those links in my description of this blog, the APHIS website gave a vet near my mom's house, which I needed somewhere close to that, so made an appointment with them. And basically what has to happen is the US vet who is certified to do this inspection just looks them over, makes sure that they have all of their health records in order, they have their rabies shot, and that they have their microchip. So once all of that is good, they do the final exam. I assumed it was within 10 days of moving, but it doesn't, it has to be within 30 days of moving. So from there, he signed off on everything. And that information and his certification gets sent to the USDA, the APHIS department, for them to look over and like give a stamp of approval. And it's actually like a raised stamp and a signature, so you have to have the originals with you when you travel. So previously, it took about 2 days to have a turnaround on that, and they would FedEx overnight it to you. That was when in Tennessee the office was based out of Nashville. But due to the Orange King's radical budget cuts with Doge and everything, they cut so many USDA jobs that now there are only a handful of these APHIS offices around the country. So originally it was going to go to North Carolina. So it was faxed to North Carolina. I provided a FedEx label. In my mind, I just bought a FedEx ground label because it was like a 3-hour drive from Nashville to where my mom lives. And then I found out, oh no, just kidding, it's based out of North Carolina now, so that was going to take another day or so to get to us with FedEx Ground. So then we kept calling the vet's office and they said, yeah, we've submitted everything, it should be back within a day or two, and it wasn't, so we kept calling the APHIS office, and it takes a long time just to get a hold of someone there. And then from there, once we did get a hold of somebody, it was like, oh well, you know, it's in process or it's being reviewed. So turns out that it was going to California because I guess there were so many, there was such a backup with these certifications that it had to go to California. So it was in California, finally got certified, and then was shipped back to my mom's house, or actually shipped back to the vet in that county. So all in all, it took over 7 days to get back to us. And when it's from the time that it is stamped by the USDA, that's when you have the 10 days to get the animal abroad. So I had to have the specific certification for the Netherlands and everything, and the Netherlands does not require quarantining. They just have to have that certification. So in this episode, you'll see where we have the journey of me going to pick up my mom and Neville from the airport, because originally we were all supposed to travel together, but unfortunately because of that delay, I came ahead to the Netherlands and my mom brought Neville to me. So I also did an interview with my mom while she was here about her experiences with traveling with a pet. So hope you enjoy. It is 7 in the morning and I'm waiting at the tram station near my apartment so that I can take that to the central station and then take a train up to Schiphol Airport and meet my mom, and not meet her, but meet up with her and Neville. Neville's coming today, so mom struggled a little bit getting through, or getting checked in at the airport in Memphis because her tickets look like she's staying here for 3 months, but she actually has a return ticket next week. But I think everything went well with Neville. So her plane lands in about 10 minutes and it'll take me about 45 minutes to get to Schiphol. Her flight is early, so hopefully she's not waiting on me too long. I did hire a driver just for her comfort. I mean, I'm fine with the train now, but should be a little bit easier. Yay! So this is my my mom, and she was able to finally take Neville to the Netherlands, or bring him to me. So I brought her here, she's our first guest on GTFO Girl, to help us answer some questions about what it was like actually physically traveling with the cat. So after we got our paperwork, finally, that took way longer than expected. Can you tell us about what the vet said once he went over the paperwork and everything?
Basically, I was waiting every day for the FedEx notification, and we finally got it. And he looked over the paperwork, made sure everything was signed where it needed to be. I had to sign the paperwork, and took it home, and we're ready to go the next day.
And prior to me leaving the United States, I actually typed up an email saying that I gave permission to Lynn to take Neville, and I included a copy of my driver's license too, just in case they needed that for permission for her to take Neville. All right, so once we had the day of, how did you prepare Neville for the travel?
I had a Neville sweater on him because I didn't know how it was going to be. Plus he had on his harness, and I wanted to leave that on him because I knew at TSA he would have to come out of the carrier. So he had on his harness, and I had his leash readily available. Excuse me, like, I guess it was really about almost 3.5 hours at least before the first flight. I gave him a gabapentin, which was prescribed by the vet, and put him in his kennel, and then we got our ride to the airport. Had some issues at the counter in Memphis at Delta, more so dealing with my visa that I didn't need, that they thought I needed. But what was confusing there was when they started processing the stuff in the computer for Neville to travel, she started asking me questions, like, for example, do you have copies of his blood work? Well, I know she was just reading off of the question she had in front of her, but he didn't need that stuff to come to the Netherlands, so it was a little concerning to me, not having Lauren right there, because she was more versed on what he needed and what he didn't. So I had to text her quickly.
And it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night my time already. So once Neville got checked in, it should have cost us about $200, but they didn't charge us. So, but as far as anything else at the check-in counter, what did you have to do with him?
They didn't even have to see him or anything. He just chilled out in his carrier on top of my roller suitcase, my carry-on suitcase.
Did they look at his papers at all?
Yes, they looked at the USDA papers, and I had everything in a folder, so I pointed out, here's his rabies, etc.
So Neville's joining us on this filming anyway. So once you got to the TSA line, can you tell me about how fun that was? Walk us through that whole process.
Okay, I have TSA pre-check, which it said on my boarding pass, so I naturally went in the TSA pre-check line, go through to where they are, where you have to put your stuff in the bins, and I mentioned to the lady standing there, I said, oh, I have the cat. She goes, basically she made it sound like once you have a pet or something like that, then that kind of negates TSA pre-check.
So good to know.
Yes, good to know. But I had to take off my jackets and everything, which I normally didn't have to do, and put that in the bin along with the carry-on. How it's supposed to work is I was to take Neville out of his carrier and do the walk-through security scanner thing, and then they would check the carrier, and I would be able to put Neville back in the carrier.
So walk through the scanner with Neville?
Yes, walk through the scanner with Neville. However, to complicate things, I have knee replacements, so I can't go through that walkthrough because it beeps. I have to go through the body scanner portion where you have to have your hands like this, so obviously you can't hold the cat at the same time. So once they realized that, Neville went back in his carrier. One of the TSA agents just basically held the carrier the whole time while I went through my scanning. Then, of course, they decided when you see your bag go off to the side, your bag is going to be searched. All this time, the guy's still holding the carrier with Neville in. while they're searching my bag. And just so everyone knows, cat litter can potentially look like something that you could use maybe to make a bomb. So we had some cat litter in a baggie to use for him at my stopover in Atlanta on some potty pads. So they had to search all of that, test the cat litter, and then also, as a side note, Lowry's garlic salt is also dangerous. To open up the sealed brand new bottle of that and test it.
That was a special request of mine, is the garlic salt.
So once I got through all of that, they're still carrying Neville in the carrier. Then we had to go to a private room where I had to take Neville out of the carrier, and they inspected the carrier just to make sure there was nothing hiding in there. But then I put him back in there and we were off to the gate.
Was he very active when he was in the TSA room? Or were the drugs taking effect?
I think he was okay. I mean, he wasn't like trying to jump out of my arms or anything, but once again, he had his harness on, and I did have the leash on just in case.
All right, so once you got to your gate, tell us about that. I know you got early boarding as a veteran, and once you got to your, like, on the plane, how was that?
It was challenging because the roller suitcase I had was only 2 wheels, so I couldn't have Neville's carrier on top of it and get it down the aisle sideways. So, and he gets heavy carrying, yes, with the carrier, but I managed to get to my seat, and the carrier, the pet carrier, fits under the seats. However, it really does kind of impact on your feet room, you know, so it sticks out from under the seat into your foot space, probably 5 inches or so. So just something to be aware of, especially on an international flight. But I put him under there, and the first flight was just a short flight, an hour to Atlanta, and
then
didn't hear a peep.
Once you were in Atlanta, you took him to a pet relief area. He just wasn't interested and decided he didn't need to relieve himself, and just kind of explored the room.
On the leash, just in case somebody opened the door and brought in a dog.
And then once you got to your gate in Atlanta for onboarding for Amsterdam, did you have to do anything special with Neville then?
No, just took Neville on, and I was able to do the pre-boarding because I'm old and said I needed assistance, you know, or didn't need assistance, but needed extra time.
By the way, I'm gonna pan the camera down. This is why we keep looking at my lap. He's joined us.
So my seat was pretty far in the back, and it was an aisle seat, which I do recommend for anyone traveling with a pet carrier because of the fact you have limited foot space, but also just to be able to get in and out, get the carrier in and out a little easier. But when I got there in my seat, I did give him another gabapentin.
And then at least with Delta, there are certain rows that you can sit in with a pet, and they're all toward the back of the plane. So be sure that if you are flying with a pet, that you take a look at what rows you can fly with, or sit in. And we did have to call ahead to Delta and let them know that we have a pet, make sure that they can accommodate the pet on the flight, because they usually only allow a certain number of pets per flight. And you can't check in until you get to, or you check him in until you get to the airport. All right, so what was it like once you got to the Netherlands?
I was a little stressed about that because I knew I would be having to pick up the 2 large suitcases that I had checked for Lauren, and the roller bag and him, and I was worried about going through customs where I had to declare him. So I just envisioned them saying this wasn't the right paperwork, I'd have to leave.
We were stressed.
Yes, but they were very nice. I never had to take him out of the carrier. They scanned his microchip like from the outside of the carrier and looked at everything and did a stamp on it.
And then
I came through pushing all the luggage and him to his mother.
Yep, we got a cart, or she got a cart with all the luggage, and then she said, "Here, take it, it's yours."
But overall, I will say, I mean, I would definitely recommend gabapentin. I think at first we were going to try it with the feel away, the natural kind of stuff, but for such a long flight, because the flight to Amsterdam was
About 8 hours.
yeah, I mean, at least, but by the time, I was on and getting off the plane, it was probably closer to 10. And he was quiet as a mouse the whole time.
We did hire a driver to take us from the Amsterdam airport to my apartment in The Hague, and it was about a 40-minute drive or so.
Yeah.
And he was ready to get out of the carrier at that point. I did take him to the bathroom in the Amsterdam airport. He didn't have any interest in using litter. He just wanted to explore the stall. So once we got him to the apartment, I already had his litter box and his food and water set up. He explored a little bit, seemed to adapt pretty well, discovered there were birds outside. But he's been here for, I guess, 4 days now. Yeah, right?
He got here Wednesday morning.
So today's Sunday, but he's pooped 3 times and peed a whole bunch, so we know things are functioning. He's starting to eat a little bit more. I think he's becoming more comfortable, but overall he's adapted really, really well. And he's still curled in my lap with his little face sticking up, so I think he's pretty happy. He loves heated blankets. We've discovered that. And here in the Netherlands, electricity and utilities are kind of expensive, so it's been highly recommended to me to keep my heat very low with my radiators. I have it warmer right now because Mom needs it warmer, but once she leaves, I will be turning it down. But Neville has plenty of blankets to cuddle in. We've discovered he loves the top of the refrigerator, so he can explore and look down on the birds in the courtyard. And really, he's adapted very well. So anything else you want to add to traveling with a cat?
The only thing I would add in his situation, since I never did take him out of the kennel except at TSA, when I did stop in Atlanta to try to get him in the little rest area, I tried to give him some water and some food. He wasn't interested in any of it. So basically, for many hours, he didn't drink anything or eat anything. So I think that's what took his body a little bit to get back in sync when he was on land.
If you're watching this, you're probably a pet parent. So the first poo he did was very, very hard and dry. Like, you could tell he was very dehydrated. But he's been drinking plenty of water now, so he's good. All right, well, thank you, Mom. I appreciate your perspective. And
He's here.
Yes, he's here, finally. Neville is here. Because of the Netherlands ban on Sphinx cats, or hairless cats in general, I had to make sure that I had Neville in the country before January 1st, 2026. Not only with that, he had to be registered here, so I did make a vet appointment for him, and we came in just under the wire. He went in on December 31st and got his EU pet passport, so he is officially a Dutch cat. So he is legal and good to go in the Netherlands. Thanks for watching GTFO Girl, and thank you for sticking through this long episode about pets and moving abroad with pets. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends.